welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're joining me today, chances are you're looking at bouncing back from a pretty disappointing UCAT score. And hey, I get it. I know exactly how grueling this test is, and seeing a low number pop up on that screen, it can absolutely feel like a massive roadblock. But today, we're going to flip the script. We are going to engineer a massive, highly strategic comeback for your medical school application. We're taking that previous score, taking it from a deficit, and turning it into your ultimate blueprint for success.
Let's dive right into this really powerful insight from MedEntry. A low score isn't the end of the world. Far from it. It's actually a really clear diagnostic starting point to study smarter. Think about it. You aren't starting from scratch anymore. You are starting from experience. And this time around, we're going to tackle your preparation way more intelligently. Okay, so here's our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll be covering the reapplicant's hidden advantage, the top 5 UCAT prep mistakes, strategies for UCAT subtests, the UCAT study cycle, and finally, smart tools for success. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. The reapplicant's hidden advantage.
So, to bounce back effectively, the experts over at MedEntry suggest something called the 4 R's, and it kicks off with recognize. Look, you've just got to give yourself the grace to process the setback and embrace those negative feelings before you even look at the data. It's totally valid to feel gutted. But once you've processed that, you switch gears. You reflect on exactly why you want to be a doctor, reevaluate the actual raw data from your exam, and then you refine a brand new hyper-targeted study schedule.
And this brings us to your hidden advantage. Because unlike first-timers who are battling A-level pressure and stressing out over some totally unknown test environment, you actually have the upper hand here. As the UCAT people point out, you don't have that competing A-level pressure right now. Plus, you know exactly what the test center looks, smells, and feels like. But the absolute biggest win? You have real baseline data. You don't have to guess where your weak spots are. Your previous results literally map out the entire battlefield for you.
Moving into Section 2. Top 5 UCAT prep mistakes.
Drawing from UCAT Ready's data, let's diagnose exactly where most applicants go off the rails. The absolute deadliest mistakes? Well, doing endless untimed practice is a huge one, or conveniently ignoring those frustrating subtests that actually drag your total score down. We've all been there, right? People also cram, or they completely fail to review their errors, meaning they're essentially just cementing their bad habits. Or they go so hard that they completely burn out before test day. Figuring out which of these traps you fell into last time is absolutely crucial for your comeback.
All right, Section 3, Strategies for UCAT Subtests.
Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. The whole point here is applying targeted, high-yield fixes to specific subtests, instead of just blindly grinding out random questions. Take verbal reasoning, for instance. A massive pitfall here is what's known as the inference trap. You have got to avoid picking answers just because they sound plausible. Instead, you need to ruthlessly scan the text for evidence that strictly proves the answer. The benchmark here is 100% certainty, not probability. Just shifting this one mental framework can radically boost your VR score.
For quantitative reasoning, you need to play doctor and diagnose your specific error types. Are you misreading data? Okay, then you need to intentionally slow down on the question stem. Is it a speed issue? Then you've got to hit the mental maths hard and memorize those keyboard shortcuts. Or maybe you just don't recognize the right method to use? In that case, you need to do heavy question-type drilling. This takes your focus off of trying to learn pure math and puts it right onto mastering speed and efficiency.
Let's talk about decision-making. You can lock in massive score gains here just by mastering the strict rules of syllogisms. You need to intimately understand the logical, real-world implications of the words all, some, and none without second-guessing yourself for even a second. Oh, and for those logical puzzles, you have absolutely got to commit to using your noteboard to untangle them. Stop trying to hold all those variables in your head. Because honestly, trying to mentally juggle whether the blue house belongs to the doctor who owns the cat, yeah, that is exactly how you bleed easy points.
Finally, for the Situational Judgement test, or SJT, we really need to talk about mindset. If you want to hit Band 1, you have to realize a very harsh truth. The exam doesn't care what you would personally do in a given situation. It's asking what a doctor following the General Medical Council's good medical practice principles should do. So if you struggled on the SJT, your single highest yield activity today is going back, reading, and deeply internalizing that GMC framework.
Let's look at Section 4, the UCAT study cycle.
So how does all this translate into a daily routine? Medify recommends a very specific study cycle designed to force intentional practice. First up, simulation. You sit down and do a full mock exam. Then, and this is the critical part, you reflect to identify your weaknesses.
Do not just blindly move on to the next test. You have to move into the learning phase, reviewing tutorials on those specific weak points. Only after that do you finally move back to practice, using targeted mini-mocks to test out those newly refined skills. This guarantees you're actually learning from your mocks, rather than just repeating the same mistakes on a loop.
If we take that cycle and map it onto a phased timeline from the UCAT people, you get this perfect transition from diagnosing your weaknesses to peaking under strict time pressure. Notice how beautifully this flows. Weeks 1 and 2, that's just for establishing a baseline mock. Then, weeks 3 through 8 are totally dedicated to untimed, section-specific drilling so you can perfect your technique. Then you hit the gas. In weeks 9 to 14, you bring back that severe time pressure with rapid-fire mixed practice. And finally, week 15 is your taper phase. You rest, you recover, so you walk into that exam room sharp, energized, and ready to go.
And that brings us to our final section, Section 5, Smart Tools for Success.
The best part? You really don't have to navigate this whole comeback alone. Platforms like Applaa AI Academy are literally changing the game here. Think of Applaa as a 24/7 AI tutor sitting right in your pocket. It can generate digital mock papers on demand across multiple subjects, and then give you instant, detailed explanations for exactly why an answer is right or wrong. It's a real game changer because it allows you to scale your review process dramatically, which saves you a ridiculous amount of time and money that you'd otherwise spend on traditional tutoring.
Now imagine combining that kind of on-demand AI guidance with a massive platform like Medify. We're talking a bank of over 20,000 practice questions, 34 targeted mini-mocks, and 25 full simulated mock exams. That sheer volume, combined with their incredibly detailed performance analytics, lets you perfectly simulate the intense pressure of test day over and over and over again until sitting for the UCAT feels completely 100% routine.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one single foundational question. Why do you want to be a doctor or dentist? I want you to go right back to that reflection stage we talked about earlier. Dig deep into your core motivation, because I promise you, if your why is strong enough, this test isn't a roadblock, it's just a hurdle. And you now have the exact blueprint to clear it. So what kind of doctor are you going to be when you finally cross that finish line? Thanks so much for tuning in, and go engineer that comeback.